burning cash is like breathing oxygen. You're burning capital when you're sleeping, when you're working, when you're not working, when you're eating. It's exactly like breathing oxygen. The good news is that we believe that the oxygen is not going to be depleted, but cash is going to be depleted. So what we do in that time and create the output is the only thing that matters.
Welcome back to another episode of the Organized Chaos Podcast. This is episode 24, and I'm thrilled to welcome Tushar Makhija, the co-founder and driving force behind TeamOhana, a pioneering workforce intelligence platform that is transforming how ambitious companies plan, align, and achieve their growth objectives through workforce management. Before founding TeamOhana, Tushar built an impressive track record in the SaaS space, where he developed expertise in customer support, sales leadership, and strategic growth. He's written extensively about the evolution of customer relationships in the digital age and has consistently demonstrated a keen understanding of the operational challenges that high-growth companies face. What makes Tushar's perspective particularly valuable for our audience is his firsthand experience building a solution that helps companies scale responsibly. His platform now serves some of the most ambitious companies, such as SeatGeek, Docker, and Postman, helping them achieve remarkable efficiencies, including an average savings of $294,000 in unapproved headcount cost and 60 hours saved monthly through automation. Just last month, Tushar led TeamOhana to raise $7.54 million in seed funding rounds, bringing their total funding to $11.5 million. Today, we'll explore Tushar's entrepreneurial journey, the challenges of building a scalable business, and his advice for founders looking to scale to 9 figures and beyond. It's a fiery episode with lots of controversial insights, so let's jump right in. Tushar, welcome to the show. Really happy to have you here. You and I have been speaking on multiple occasions many times. I was super excited to have you on the show, given that I've been really a part of your journey with TeamOhana and so forth. So I'd love it if you can tell the listeners, a little bit about your professional journey before founding TeamOhana and really some of the experiences that really gave you that entrepreneurial mindset to really start your company.
Well, Nahed, thank you for having me, and thank you for being a valued customer of TeamOhana. We appreciate your business and your feedback and insights and comments and complaints. All in that order and in that beautiful package. So entrepreneurial journey, I would say, is very... I think it goes back to where I grew up and how I grew up back in India. I grew up in a 500 square foot apartment. It was not that we didn't have food on the table or something. I come from a hardworking middle class family back in India. And from the very beginning, it was taught that if you want something, you have to work really hard for it. Nothing is guaranteed, nothing is given. And that just embodies in the entire journey, right? When you are growing up, and I'm an engineer by training. I did my undergrad in India, and basically it was very clear that if you want to go achieve your dreams and get an equal opportunity to win, America is the land of opportunity. But in order to get to America as an immigrant, you have to work really hard, get good scores, get an admit into a very good university. I went to University of Southern California's Viterbi School of Engineering, and I'm a master's in electrical engineering. And then starts that after 2 years of completing your master's, then starts this journey like, how do you stay in this country because your student visa is going to go away? Yeah. And I'm going to take you back all the way to 2003. Yes, I purposely didn't shave so I could show off my gray beard. So it was 2003. I graduated in 2005. It took me 8 months to find a job, but there was only one thing that was, hey, let's go find a company that is going to sponsor your H-1B. And then starts the 10-year journey of becoming a green card holder. And then starts the entrepreneurial journey. So basically, from the very beginning, it was clear that if I want to start my own company and if I want to do something of my own, I have to endure the 10 years till I get that green card, because
the process.
That's the process. So I had done smaller entrepreneurial, I would say, endeavors in the middle, starting companies. But the real introduction to startups happened in 2010 when I joined, not as an engineer, but I joined as a company's first business development representative. It's a very funny story that the CTO of that company back in 2012, HelpShift, is now the co-founder and CTO of TeamOhana. And he said, we don't need you to be an engineer. You're an okay engineer. But we are selling this new product to other engineers, and I think you can translate and be the sales guy. And I was like, I'm an electrical engineer and I'm going to be doing sales. But I think that was one of the best things that happened to me. And now, 2012, 13 years since I've gone through basically 2 early stage startups, first in HelpShift, second Airbase that recently got acquired by Paylocity. I was again employee number in the first 10 employees there. And then that led to finally realizing my dream of starting my own company. So I don't think it's a success story yet, but it is a story that was in the making right from August 10th, 2003, when I first landed in LA for the first time in my life, taking an international flight out of India. And then to October of 2021 when we launched TeamOhana.
Wow, that's amazing, Tushar. Thank you for sharing that. And I love that story because a lot of times when I speak to especially first-time founders or people who have never founded a business before, right? Mm-hmm. They think that this is something of an overnight success thing. They look at these stories they see on social media, these people sipping pina coladas at the beach on LinkedIn. But you don't see the 20 years that preceded that, right? How did you get there? The arduous trail, and it doesn't happen overnight. So I think that's great. It's a great reminder for everyone that, I mean, hey, some people get it right the first time and it just happens right out of college. Yeah. But there's such a minority, in generally speaking, like it's probably the 1% of everyone else who really gets to that path. So I think that's an amazing story. So you mentioned TeamOhana, right? You launched in 2021. And I mean, for those,
we started in 2021. We didn't launch till October of 2022.
Well, yeah. Thank you for reminding me there. So basically, very young company, right? Mm-hmm. For those who don't know the platform, you guys recently raised investment rounds. You're on the up and up. The company's growing. You're gaining traction. You have some marquee customers who are working with the platform. Can you walk us through the growth trajectory from when you first started TeamOhana over the first few years and really some of those biggest challenges you faced, especially when it comes to scaling and growing and really finding that product market fit and building your team?
So here's the first, I'll take a step back, and because this beginning is more interesting than the present.
It always is.
One quick comment before you say, I think where you are born and, what circumstances, and if you grow up in the US from the very beginning, I think the odds are in your favor. So you can actually leap and, become an entrepreneur at 18 and drop out of MIT. Again, you have to be smart and you have to have the grit. But I think the surroundings do matter. So for me, that came at the age of 40. I started my company when I was 40 years old. And basically, if I hadn't gone through the first 15 years of startup life, I don't think I would have been funded, or I don't even think VCs would have spoken to me, right? Yeah. Because I think ideas are not great. It is all about the execution. What comes after, right? So the first step was I was very fortunate that my co-founder, who's I've known him for 15 years, and he's a friend of mine first before he became my co-founder, was very willing to say, we should do something of this sort, because a good idea is nothing without great execution. And for that, you need an amazing technology partner. I mean, I understand technology, but I'm not a CTO. I cannot go build. And one of the things that the network has been amazing to us, because my investors have come through my network. My co-founder is my friend, and I've known him for 15 years. Our entire engineering, now we've got 20 engineers. We are a 32-person company. I would say 80% of them have come through word of mouth. It's through our network. My entire sales team has come through word of mouth. My VP of sales, I courted him for almost 18 months and he just joined last month. So I think building that network really helps because, it takes a whole damn village to get to and build something. I would say I have been fortunate and very lucky and blessed to have that network that believes in taking an important part and time of their life and investing it in me, my company, and making it their own, right? So all thanks to the network and all thanks to my team. One of the differences of starting a company at 40 versus starting a company at 20 is that you've got wisdom, but it lends itself to you being a little more pragmatic and practical and having less bravado, I would say. So
yes, definitely.
So I was coming off of 2 successful stints as VPs of sales at a company. I was part of a venture. I was working as an operating partner at a venture firm for the summer. And they were like, look, Tushar, if you come up with a good idea, we will be the first to hear about it and, evaluate it and probably fund it. But if you don't and you decide to continue on this path of finding good companies, we've got these roster, and this was like 2021. So there was a lot of good companies out there. And they were like, hey, you could basically do this one more time after Airbase. And, help shift, then Airbase, then let's go find you something else. Stay in the family. But, luckily for me, I did find the idea that I was very passionate about. And it started with just having conversations with CFOs. I came up with this rubric that why do I want to solve a CFO problem? Because it's a hard problem. CFOs don't like to talk to any people. So if you're a founder who's never been a CFO before, how would you go get intel or feedback from people? I had this advantage because I had spent 2.5 years at Airbase, again, building Airbase, selling software to CFOs. I already had a network of CFOs. So I was like, okay, if somebody tomorrow has to compete with me, they would have to compete with my network. That is a positive in my favor. So I took that as a checkbox. Second was like, who existing category versus newer category. It is always better from the perspective of, if I can go and say that I am replacing your Salesforce and you already have Salesforce dollars allocated in your budget, and I'm taking either a piece of it or all of it, it's a very different conversation. Airbase was selling hard software, but it had this secret weapon called interchange revenue. So you could get past that hurdle. In TeamOhana, we found that in this idea particularly that that we are going after status quo and a spreadsheet. So you really have to justify ROI and cost from the very beginning. Now, I think some people think of that as a negative. I took that as a very big positive. And I said, look, I'm starting a company at 40. If I can't get 10 people convinced on this idea, I'm never going to make it big. So I'm going to be thrown out very quickly, and I'm going to reconcile to my life and then just go do things that I'm good at. So as I said, right, it was less hubris, less bravado, more practicality to come and say, okay, can we get 10 people to buy into this category? So a newer category, fighting for new dollars, not replacing existing software, but creating something new in the company's stack and selling into the CFO and CHRO organizations, there were a lot of negatives.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of
stigma. In heaven always.
Absolutely not. But I told my investors that if we get this right, this is a winner-take-all market. It is going to be extremely difficult. Right now, there are 5 new YC companies trying to do it, but that's great. They did it after we have now created an early category for this. So that is the opportunity that I was going after. And I said, if we go in there, we make our own category. It is our narrative. We tell the world what great looks like, and that will enable us to go find those customers. Now, it is up to me and my co-founder to come up with that narrative and to deliver a solution that works. And if these two things easily, like if we can get these at least 80% right, we have an opportunity to build a very big company because we will have tremendous runway and lead time for anybody to catch up on, right?
Yeah.
We have seen new websites come along which literally look and use the words that we have been using on our website, right?
Good compliment.
Headcount management platform was not a category. That's why we now we said, okay, let's change this to workforce intelligence platform because of AI. But now we'll see. I already saw a few people starting to quote that on their LinkedIn posts as well. So yeah, we are unleashing workforce intelligence. So great. So there we are. That's the new category that everybody will go after. So I think being iterative, going and talking to people and coming up with that triangulated idea and saying, okay, this is what success would look like in 6 months, in 9 months, in 12 months. And if we can't get there, good. Life is very precious. Time is precious. We'll go do something other, right? And so that's I would say is the journey so far.
Wow, that's really amazing. And yeah, I mean, to your point, I think there's a lot of lessons learned here for founders, right? And I love the point you made. Like when the time frame in which you start your first startup is pretty critical, right? There's when you're 20, you're thinking along the lines like you're taking bigger risks, you're jumping off the roof sometimes, and all that. Much more pragmatic, but also I think also a lens. What I've seen in working with a lot of founders and entrepreneurs is there's a lot of benefit to that experience that you get, especially in a market that you're in or so forth. And that networking part is so important, right? It's something you mentioned, which I think is pretty critical, is probably had you not had that same network and that same, experience that you've had, probably that same idea wouldn't have maybe had the success or even had the penetration it had, given that there was that trust in what Tushar brings in your understanding of the problems that CFOs face, which is just kind of interesting. So Tushar, let's talk a bit about the people aspect of things, right? Because you're a small and mighty team, 32 people, right? And what role do you think have the people you have on your team played in the success? Was this more just of like, hey, this is a winning idea, we have a great CTO, we're able to build a great product? Or is there more that you think the people, those 32 people on the team that have brought, that have given you something of an advantage that you think you might not have had with all the technology, all the ideas and so forth? What part does people play in the success, in your opinion, as a founder looking back?
I think it's all about the team. I think if I go back, our founding engineer is actually coming to take a sabbatical for some time. In the next few weeks, he's going on a sabbatical, and he's like, Tushar, I'm a little burnt out, but if
well earned.
Go get this well earned, right? And he was also part of one other startup that we all worked together. So if in aggregate, he told me, Tushar, it's been 10 years. And I'm like, hey man, it's well deserved. Take some time off. But there are others that are coming up on their 4-year anniversary between October of this year and January of next year. And without these folks, there will be no reason for TeamOhana to exist, because people and good technologists are hard to find. And there is so much early intelligence built into the team, like all the iterations that we did. Why did we make certain decisions? And, we have 2 PMs who are coming up on 4 years. They know the product inside out. And when new people join in, they are responsible for sharing that knowledge. And it is, yes, everybody says, let's go write Notion docs and let's become this organization. But I don't think everything can be codified and put into, Google Docs or wiki pages. It's just hard. So I think finding good people and making sure that they are not leaving you is important. And that is one that comes to me. And I would say it is also a testament that people really want to work with my CTO. He's a hard ass, but he is extremely intelligent and has such good information, and he's got a pulse of design, product development, engineering. He's a gifted engineer himself. So people flock to such talent, right? And they learn and they stay. So I think if you find the right people and then you nurture them and then you give them the opportunity, they would stay. I am a very big proponent of giving people a lot of equity, sometimes to the detriment of my VC friend, my board members. They're like, Tushar, how are you planning for the future if you give everybody this much equity? And I'm like, we will hire fewer people. It's okay. But the people who are in here should be really invested. But that does not mean that I haven't fired people. I'm also a very fire fast kind of a person. And I think this, and I'm going to say something controversial because you're a people person. So this is a people person podcasted. I don't think there is work-life balance. I think there is work and there is life and then there is balance. The requirements of the business are constantly changing. The requirements of you as a person is constantly changing. So if you are also not adapting and if you're not leaning in, then you are going to be left behind, because this is not just a business. It is, you are creating something from nothing. It is supposed to be bloody damn hard. And it is very, very hard. The number of times my wife has told me that I'm going to be burnt out or I'm not spending enough time with my daughter. My daughter was basically born the same year, a year prior to me starting the company. So, it's sometimes difficult to hear. My daughter would say this, that when I wake up, Papa is on the phone, and when I sleep, Papa is on the phone. So I now have like blocked hours that I say that I'm only going to do this. But I wake up at 5:30 because I have a team in Asia. So I'm working with them. My VP of sales is on the East Coast. So it's 9 a.m. for him and 6 a.m. for me. So we are already working in the morning, because that's his thinking time before the rest of the team wakes up, and our customers are on the West Coast. So there is a lot of sacrifice. And if people are not, I don't think you can hide away from that fact. It is very plain and simple. And you can be the best person, but if you have other priorities in life, it's okay. There is no shame. But in a young, small startup, you are working a lot. And I think that's a choice that we all should be making. And I don't see anything wrong in that.
So this might surprise you, coming from me as an HR person, but I actually echo a lot of the things you've said on the podcast and people I work with. And you mentioned it's controversial because it's not the typical HR thing you hear, right? But I think what you're saying, so there's multiple things you said, which I think are super important. And I think, the listeners for the podcast, I think they need to listen to these things because, there's two types of people who are typically the audience here. It's the founders and it's HR people in startups, right? I agree with you. For one thing you mentioned, which I think is amazing, is your CTO, right? This is someone who has multiple types of capabilities and competencies, right? They're not just going down the tunnel of engineering. This is someone who has insight into product and other sides. That is so critical. I've seen it so critical in a lot of startups where when you have multi-talented people, today it's referred to like this T-shaped individual and so forth, people who have skills which are transferable across divisions and departments and areas of the business, you're not locked down. Super critical. I mean, it's one of the reasons which I've seen personally where companies can stay small and lean and not just blow the headcount out of proportion is with having this type of multi-skilled talent that can punch really above their weight. But the work-life balance you mentioned, I agree with you. Like I've been there before personally because I've founded businesses before, but also seen a lot of founders. This work-life balance, I think it comes a lot from people who've never done it before. When you've done it before, and I think everyone creates their own balance, right? And I agree with you fully. Like you're a family person, so I am. There's people who don't have families, people who do, and they make it work because you make sacrifices and you make decisions, but you're investing in something bigger than yourself. And especially when you have employees and a team relying on you, where I'm sure you felt this before, but I felt it before in my tenure as a founder and so forth, is there's this weight on you that your decisions aren't only impacting you anymore. They impact the lives of many people around you. And that has some sort of psychological weight as well, which keeps you on sometimes at night, right?
Sometimes. I don't think I've had a good night's sleep. My wife tells me I'm just getting old, so I have to wake up in the middle of the night and go pee. But I think it's a lot more than that. I don't need an alarm to wake up. I'm up at 5:30 right now.
Yep.
I try to be present and I try to go and stretch first, but there is a natural tendency that I need to pick up my slack because my team, we are a distributed team. So every engineering leader or, team leader is dropping notes and like what is being done and what is still going to be not done, because there is a race to time, right?
Yes.
I keep reminding people, burning cash is like breathing oxygen. You're burning capital when you're sleeping, when you're working, when you're not working, when you're eating. It's exactly like breathing oxygen. The good news is that we believe that the oxygen is not going to be depleted, but cash is going to be depleted. So what we do in that time and create the output is the only thing that matters. So when I go and see that we are not getting the desired output, I have a very simple way of saying, look, guys, this is what my expectation is. My coach taught me this something. She said, Tushar, you don't have to get angry. Clarity is kindness. And God bless her. She's so smart.
Words of wisdom.
She's like
words of wisdom.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's like, and also she's been an operator herself for 30 years or 40 years before she decided to coach founders. And I only coach founders who come from, painful past like you, which is, she's like, when you grew up, you were the first Indian-born son. That means everything is on your head. And it is so true. My father asked me what my net worth is the other day, and I gave him a number, and he's like, oh, I was expecting more. And I was like, and my mom goes, can you not do that to him? He's not he anyways doesn't sleep. Now it's over. Tushar is going to run 24 hours. But it is, that's how Indian parents are sometimes. But, clarity is kindness. So there is, and just because when you join the company and your expectations were X, and you imagine and you believe that the expectations are not going to change to X plus 100 or X exponential 100, it's confounded. So the clarity is kindness, and the responsibility falls on me for your success, and also sometimes to let you know that this is not the right place for you to be, right? You get people on the bus, and sometimes you stop the bus in the middle of the road, and some people have to get off. And it is sad, but it is the truth.
I agree. I mean, you mentioned something earlier also, like when you're hiring, doesn't mean you don't let people go. And when it's not working out, it's actually better to let them go earlier. You're doing them a service as well. And you're doing the company service. Everyone's better for it. So on that note, Tushar, let's pivot a little bit into the area that your business tries to solve for, the workforce management and planning, right?
Yeah.
So workforce management is one of the most important things for startups, right? And something I usually say a lot to companies, especially when they're small, you need a Michael Jordan in every position, because when you're small and mighty, every role is impactful. You need Michael Jordans everywhere. Now, what I've seen a lot of founders do before, those that I've worked with, right? Some of them, especially when they get any investment capital, they go on a hiring spree and they go on a binge of hiring. And sometimes, hey, the demand's there and it's justified, but a lot of times they don't work out as well. From your perspective, and having spoken to a lot of CFOs and HR folks, and you're working, and your platform is meant to help solve some of these problems, right? What are some of the mistakes you've seen commonly applied in startups when it comes to headcount management, workforce planning, whatever you want to call it?
I want to preface something, right? I think the first, let's lay down the foundation of these, the words that we are using, right? Workforce management is more of a compliance endeavor, right? You got payroll as part of this. You have to make sure that you have all the forms in place and you track start date, end date, promotion date. So it's more like an HR, employee record management kind of a system, right? The benefits administration is part of that as well. On the other hand, and this all companies do, right? Bamboo HR is God's gift to everybody. It's not that expensive. It can be created, or you can go to TriNet, or you can go to Rippling. That's a kind of a solved problem right now, right? Before even TeamOhana, I think there is what I call is this. There has to be an understanding of, if I want to go from point A to point B, if I want to go from a 1 million ARR company to a 3 million ARR company, what is the OPEX that I'm going to set aside for myself? And as part of that OPEX, 70 to 80% is going to be people. And that's okay. That is correct. But what people completely forget, or it gets sidelined, is that it's not just about who we are hiring. Oh, I need an AI engineer. I need a salesperson. I need a BDR. I need a marketing person. That is all important. It's about when you are hiring and how much are you going to pay them, right? And I don't think it becomes very easily transferable as a requirement that you have to go and present a headcount plan. Mm-hmm. So you just start by hiring, right? It's like, oh, we have to hit these goals. Let's go hire. And then everybody starts operating in their own silos, and it just exasperates the problem. And then you don't know when the burn increases or decreases, right? So again, I think being someone who started at 40, this is one of the arguments that I have with my co-founder is like, he's like, why do you have to approve everything? And I'm like, it's not because I need some crazy power over you or over the company. I just I'm very skeptical about, and I'm paranoid about running out of capital. So I approve, all payroll goes through me, all commissions goes through me, all hiring goes through me. I look at reimbursements, right? Somebody in our company was, and yes, call me a cheap ass, was leaving 20% tips on Ubers. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're using a company card and leaving a 20% tip. You can leave $1, a couple of dollars, 20% tip. Why? You do it on your own damn dime, man, right? This money is for capital. When I go and take the team out, I pay on my own credit card. I never use the company credit card. Why should I use the company credit? I'm here to compound my time. Spending $100 on drinks or $200 on food is not what I'm in it for, right? So I think you have to be very stingy and you have to be very strict. This is for the early stage people. I think as you become larger and larger, the mistakes that we are... So if you walk into a CFO's office and say, hey, I'm Tushar and I'm going to give you control and visibility on your company's largest expense, they're going to smile and they're going to walk me out of the door. They're like, do you think I'm a CFO sitting in this seat waiting for a Tushar to come and give me control and visibility? I think what they are genuinely looking for is alignment, because they want to do the right thing. And mistakes start happening when different teams are not aligned to the same goal. Luckily, and I think this is a blessing that the interest rate went up and we all got fiscally responsible, thank God, that the CFO now has the power and the board approval as well, the CEO approval to go and put checks and balances in place. If I don't go and have a last final conversation with the CFO in a company, I know I am in trouble already, that this deal either may not go through or this deal may get stalled or we may get fired in 3 months. Because the CFO has to be bought in, right? And the mistake is all around the fact that and I think that was if you say what TeamOhana does, it is going after solving one mistake. It is solving the alignment problem. What do we align? Systems, processes, and people. HR people operate on the HR system. Recruiting teams operate in the applicant tracking system. FP&A teams operate in a budgeting system, which can be a spreadsheet, right?
Yeah.
Now, when all have to come together to define the source of truth and the source of workforce spend, they are misaligned. They don't trust the data. They don't trust each other's system. Nobody wants to log into an Anaplan. And also, nobody wants to log into a greenhouse. And nobody absolutely wants to log into a Rippling. So now you've got these 3 silos sitting together, managing your company's largest expense and largest asset. And what do? We are basically Switzerland. We are brokering between people, process, and systems and coming up and saying, hey, we follow this rule. And that brings people together because now there is no finger pointing. They point fingers at us. If something is wrong, TeamOhana, that's why we have a well-funded support team. If something is wrong, you will tell TeamOhana. You will not tell Nahed, you'll not tell Tushar, you'll not tell the recruiter. No, it's TeamOhana, right? So it comes with a lot of, I would say, power and responsibility, right? We are the first people who you will blame. TeamOhana is wrong. That's okay. Because you know what? We've made sure that rippling is right. We've made sure that greenhouse is right. And we've made sure that your budgeting system is right. We can be wrong. And then you will come in. You know what? You'll only fix it in TeamOhana. One place, right?
Exactly.
One neck to choke for the CFO. And that's what they want.
I love those analogies. I mean, I think from my perspective, Tushar, I think I can speak to a lot what you've said because I am in the HR function. I'm actually a user of TeamOhana and I've done it the old way, right? And I love that you pinpointed to alignment because that's exactly what it is. Because if you look, and alignment happens in different phases, right? There's the alignment on, okay, what are we hiring for? When are we hiring and how much are we paying? The things you mentioned. If alignment's off on any one of these things, you already have a problem. If it's off on all of them and compound that all over the company, I mean, good luck to you, right?
Yeah.
It becomes a nightmare. I've seen it firsthand, even when I consulted towards companies, even also today when I'm leading HR functions, that the alignment, even at small companies, is very difficult. Like this is a problem when you're a 20-person company and it just gets worse from there. Because to your point, something's in a spreadsheet, something's in an accounting system, something's in the HRAS. They don't speak together very well, right? If at all. And the formats in which they present data are off. The data points you're looking at are even different. So it becomes all a big mess. So that alignment's so critical, but also typically to preempt that, something that I've been a proponent believer of for a long time in my career is HR and finance have to be best friends. And by best friends, I don't mean they go to happy hours together, right? I mean that HR has to speak the language of business. They need to understand the financials. They need to understand how the business runs, and they need to be able to contribute to the conversation around on alignment towards headcount and so forth. Because what I've seen sometimes with HR people, I preach this a lot to HR people, is that you can't go into a business conversation with the CFO talking only about the people side of things. You need to talk about the impact. You need to understand what the runway looks like. You need to understand what your burn rate is. You need to understand that, hey, if we're shipping X product, we need X amount of headcount, and this is our velocity rate for releasing features, and this is our time to market, and this is our expected pipeline and sales. You need to understand these things because if you don't, you're missing the context beyond the numbers on the spreadsheet, right? So, I completely love what you just said. That alignment piece, it's really the whole, it's that cherry on top. Without it, really, it's a nightmare. And that's where you have a lot of these issues with hiring and misalignment.
And you talked about that compounding effect, right? It is about one of the biggest challenges that FP&A teams come to us and say, hey, TeamOhana, why can't you help us predict the best or the most accurate target start date? Because recruiters are in the business of closing roles and they are moving towards and they are dealing with people, trying to schedule interviews, meeting with hiring managers. How it is very hard. So everybody thinks in like 15 days or 30 days intervals. Oh, this is going to be done next month or this is going to be this quarter. But that creates the variance in cost. When am I going to start committing dollars? And commitment of dollars is a capital allocation problem. So if you are off by a couple of weeks on all the hiring that you have made it, now there is unused capital that if forecasted correctly should have been invested in some other programs that could have given you a better output or given you a better lift in your business. So, but again, it is so minute. That is of target start date. Like somebody would say, how hard is that? But that is hard, right? Then the next thing is target compensation. Finance typically is looking at average compensations across from the last 12 months, but that is completely thrown out of the window. You have HR have a very good job catalog and a job architecture that finance has no clue exists because it is sitting in yet another system, right? So now when you are going and budgeting for a role, finance would say, oh, finance department or engineering department, 150. But you just hired someone for $200,000 because they deserve it. They are high in demand, but finance did not know about this. Now there is a variance, right?
Exactly.
So there is a forecast variance, there is a time variance, then there is backfill variance. On average, when you backfill someone, you pay 20% more. Finance does not do that. Finance simply says, oh, backfill position. Done.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So
same budget plus more.
exactly. So we are making it super systematic and organized for finance to have the latest compensation information and the system, right? That's why we call it workforce intelligence. It is not just filling roles. It is us telling you this target start date is bollocks, but we don't say it in that way. We say it in nice ways that, hey, our prediction is that you're going to be off by a couple of weeks or 10 days or 12 days. And then what we have now done is unlock this for the recruiter to see that if hiring is off by 12 days, that results in $50,000 worth of savings. So you are training their subconscious mind to say, hiring time, it's not just your own vanity metric on time to hire and time to fill. No, it is time to spend dollars. And if you are delayed in hiring, it's okay for valid reasons. It's going to, but so you should know that this is the difference. So now people are trained to come to TeamOhana and accept all our recommendations or make their own adjustments and say, no, I'm pretty sure we can get this done on a certain date. It's going to be later than what TeamOhana is predicting, or it's going to be sooner. And that's the muscle that people are subconsciously building because of our platform, right? And it's not just the recruiting team. It's also the hiring managers who get clear understanding on, hey, because they are not going into, see how Greenhouse, Ashby, and all of these wonderful tools are designed. There is one job called customer support representative or software engineer. Everyone applies to that one job and then you create openings and start filling those roles. That is an efficient way of doing things. But how does the hiring manager understand when in their mind, they're like, I need 5 people. They're not looking at one job. They're looking at 5 positions to be filled, 5 people to join the company. They need more clarity when their team will be complete, right? Exactly. And if that team is not going to be complete in time, either you need more recruiter capacity, you need to either pay people more, or you need to say, hey, we're not going to hit our business goal. Yeah. It is all about getting to these decisions.
Exactly, 100%.
Exactly.
Yep. Agreed. Right. No, that's amazing. So, Tushar, I know we're getting to the end of the time here, and to be respectful of your time also, this is all, again, just a lot of amazing insight, which I think is going to be so valuable to anyone listening. Tushar, if anyone wants to reach out to you, have a chat, learn more about TeamOhana and so forth, what's the best way to reach you?
So my email address is very simple. It's my first name, tushar@teamohana.com. I read all the LinkedIn messages, even from people trying to sell me a lot of things. So I would definitely read messages from customers or potential prospects or even just founders. So LinkedIn or email are the best ways to reach me.
Perfect. I'll make sure to include your LinkedIn profile in the show notes, as well as the website for TeamOhana.
Thank you.
Again, Tushar, I appreciate your time here. Pleasure having you. A lot of amazing insights, and look forward to having you on the show at some point again.
Thanks, Nahed. Really appreciate you having me.
Thank you.